Hello, my friend. Welcome to English Legacy. Today we're going to talk about a very important topic. Reading books. Maybe when you hear this you say, yes, I know, reading books is good. But why exactly is it good? What does it do to our brain? How did people read in the past? Why does reading feel so hard today? We're going to talk about all of this. If you're ready, let's begin. First, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you picked up a book and just read? Without looking at your phone, without notifications, without thinking about other things, you just read. For most people, this question is a little hard to answer. Because our attention is very scattered now, it wasn't always like this. For hundreds of years, people grew up with books. A book wasn't just a form of entertainment, it was the only way to access knowledge. Before the printing press was invented, so before the 1400s, books were written by hand. This was a very long process. Copying a single book could take months, so books were very valuable. Only wealthy people or churches could have books. Ordinary people had a hard time accessing them. But still, people wanted to read. Because knowledge was power, a person with knowledge could build a better life. When the printing press was invented, everything changed. Books multiplied, prices dropped. More people started reading. This was actually one of the biggest changes in history. People could now learn on their own. They didn't have to wait for someone else to explain things. They picked up a book, read it, and understood the world better. As literacy rates increased, science developed, art developed, societies changed. The book became one of the most important building blocks of civilization. What did people do 200 years ago in the evenings? There was no television, no phone, no internet. They read books by candlelight or lamplight in the evenings. For them it was both entertainment and learning. Children listened to stories before bed. Adults read newspapers and novels. Reading was a natural part of daily life. Nobody said, I can't find time to read, because there weren't many other options. Now let's come to today. We have phones, tablets, computers. We can reach any information we want within seconds. This is actually a wonderful thing, but it also brought a problem with it. Our attention span has decreased a lot. You've noticed this too. You start reading something, a few minutes later you pick up your phone. You start watching a video, halfway through you switch to another video. You're talking with a friend, but part of your mind is somewhere else. This feels very normal to us now. Research shows that the average person's attention span has decreased significantly over the last 20 years. The biggest reason for this is social media and smartphones, because these apps reward us with something new every few seconds. A new notification, a new video, a new post. Our brain gets used to this. Reading a book is the exact opposite activity. It requires you to focus on one thing for hours. This is now difficult for people. But here's something interesting. Reading books is one of the best ways to solve this problem. In other words, one of the most powerful weapons against the things that distract our attention is again the book. What happens in your brain when you read a book? I want to explain this because it's very surprising. Scientists have studied this with brain scans in recent years, and what they saw was really impressive. When you read a book, many different areas of your brain are working at the same time. The language area works, understanding the words. Visual areas work, creating scenes in your mind. Emotional areas work. You feel the characters. Even motor areas work sometimes. This is an incredible thing. Reading a book is a complete workout for your brain. In people who read regularly, brain connections become stronger. Communication between neurons is faster. This means that people who read books think faster, learn more easily, and remember better. Not just what they read, but everything in general. On top of that, reading books also protects the brain against aging. It reduces the risk of diseases that may occur in later years. Elderly people who read regularly stay mentally much healthier than elderly people who don't read. The brain is just like a muscle. If you don't use it, it gets weak. If you use it, it gets stronger. And the book is one of the best exercises for the brain. Reading books also develops our ability to empathize, meaning we can feel other people's emotions. Why? Because when you read a novel, you enter the mind of a character. You read their thoughts. You feel what they feel. You understand their decisions. This isn't something we experience very often in real life. Normally, we only look at the world from our own perspective. But a book forces you to see the world through someone else's eyes. This is a very valuable thing. If you want to truly understand a person, you need to be able to put yourself in their place, and the book teaches you this, without you even realizing it. Think about it. You're reading a novel. The main character lives a very different life, maybe in a different country, a different culture, a different era. But you understand their emotions. You feel why they're sad, why they're happy, what they're afraid of. You look at people more deeply. I also want to touch on the topic of stress. The effect of reading on stress is really surprising. Research shows that just 6 minutes of reading can reduce stress levels by 68%. This is even more effective than listening to music, going for a walk, or even drinking tea. Why? Because when you read a book, your mind enters that story. You move away from daily worries, to-do lists, questions about what will happen tomorrow. Your mind rests. But at the same time, it's not completely empty. It's working in an active but calm way. This is a very rare mental state, and this state is very healing for both the body and the mind. In the old days, people maybe didn't know this, but they felt it. After a hard day, reading a book by candlelight relaxed them. Now we can explain this neurologically. But the result is the same. Reading calms you, relaxes you, and renews you. So why do we read so few books now? We need to ask ourselves this question honestly. The answer is usually there's no time. But is that really true? Think about it. How many minutes a day do you look at your phone? Most people don't realize this. But the phone screen is on for an average of 3 to 4 hours a day, so there is time. But that time goes to the phone, not to a book. This isn't a time problem. This is a priority problem. Reading feels hard because it doesn't give the brain a quick reward. Social media gives something every second. A book gives slowly. And the brain has gotten used to quick rewards. That's why you get bored in the first pages of a book. But if you continue, something happens. You get into the book. You get to know the characters. You get curious. And after that point, it becomes hard to put it down. The thing is, just to get past that first threshold, how can you start? Very simple. 10 minutes a day, just 10 minutes. Before bed, put down your phone and read for 10 minutes. This seems small, but done regularly, it's a habit that can change your life. Choosing the right book is also important. Start with a topic that interests you. Don't make reading feel like an obligation. If a book feels very boring, you can leave it. Not every book is for every person. But after you love one book, moving on to the next becomes much easier. Over time, the habit forms. 10 minutes turns into 20 minutes. When you finish one book, you pick up the next. And before you know it, reading has become a natural part of your life, just like it was for people in the past. That's all for today's video. See you next time.